love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know. iTunes, that's what. There are federal copyright laws and nothing here, but if anyone just recorded that on your phone, talk to Dee. I know nothing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think that our music program is outstanding. So, the power of love. This is kind of love week because we've got Valentine's Day coming up, and you know, you've got all the ads for flowers and chocolates, and it's a Hallmark event, and the restaurants all raise their prices. I'm not going to talk about that. Because that is such a small part of love. Although it's an important part, I'll give you that. It's the eros part of love. It is the passion. And sometimes people come in and they tell me that they're in love, and I go, no, you're not, you're in lust. It's that kind of experience. It's our physicality coming together. Or it may emerge or evolve into the philia type of love, which is the friendship. And I think that if you are in a relationship, it's very important that you are good friends, if not best friends, to share that experience through life with someone at that level is wonderful. However, that is on the relative plane. That is on the physical plane. It is on the personality plane. It is in the world of conditions or the world of effect. And what we learned here is that the world of conditions and the world of effect are but reflections of our state of consciousness within ourselves. And if we want to have wonderful relationships with people, if we want to go through life as a nice person, which is really very, very helpful, those of you who may want to consider that. If you want to go through life in harmony in all of your relations, then it's important for you to get clear inside of yourself as to who you are and what is going on. We are spiritual beings living in a spiritual world governed by spiritual law. What does that mean? We just sang the song of love. There is only love. And yet, if there is only love, then how is it that we don't have that manifestation in every relationship in our lives? How is it that we default to there is not only love, or there is only not love in certain circumstances? And the way that we get to the outer is always through the inner. So rather than giving you tips on how to be in a great relationship, which I have, rather than psychoanalyzing all of your experiences in life, which I can do, I want to take us a step back into that more true essence and nature of who we are. If we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual world governed by spiritual law, what does that mean? I have fallen in love with Annie Ritz-Mollitz. I have just fallen in love with her, and I have fallen in love with getting back to more of the principles of metaphysics than the, I want to say pablum, but that's too hard of a word, than the packaged new thought that can be sold to the masses without asking too much of them. What I know is that if you walk in this door and never look back, to stay here asked a lot of you. And that's what this idea that we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law does. It asks a lot of you, because it's not stepping back saying, well, we're going to talk about the absolute, but then we're going to live in the relative, because, you know, there are conditions that I need to deal with in life, Barbara, and you don't understand. I need to do this and this and this, and if this happens, it's going to make my life easier, and I'm willing to open up to love, but except to those people because they did me wrong, and I'm not going to forget them in a minute. I'm asking you to step back from all of those stories and all of those experiences into a greater reality. And I got to tell you that Annie Ritz has helped me do that. I just finished an audio recording of her book, Primary Lessons in Healing. It went to 5 CDs. I spent all week reading her words and feeling her teaching. And one of the things that she says, and everybody take a deep breath. Is it hot in here? Yes. David, will you open up the outside doors? And will someone turn that from heat to air for me, please? Just flip the switch up.
All right, Tim.
Well, you know, it was in the 20s this morning. So one of the things that she says is that everything is spirit. And if everything is spirit, then that which is unlike spirit cannot exist. And that's where we start to get a little crazy. Because that is the old-timey metaphysical viewpoint. That everything is spirit, and if you have something that is not an eternal verity of truth, if you have sickness, if you have fear, if you have anger, if you have conditions of limitation or poverty of any kind, that is not spirit. And so it doesn't exist, because everything is spirit. That is the world of the relative, that is the world of the conditions, and that is simply a reflection of how you choose to perceive life at any given moment. And so a lot of people come in here with a lot of perceptions and a lot of conditions because they're perceiving life at any given moment from a limited viewpoint, thinking that the manifestation of their limited viewpoint is real and owns them. And so they come in here and they've got this diagnosis or this problem, or they want to do that, they want to have their dreams come true, they want to meet their true love, they want to have a lot of money, and they don't realize that they already have that, but it is their insistence on viewing their world from a limited perspective that stops the manifestation of that which they want to have. So old-time metaphysics, before we got branded and sold and marketed, simply says anything that is unlike spirit is not real. It just doesn't exist. You are not sick, you are not poor, you are not lonely, you are not afraid, you are not angry, you are not limited in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't exist. And if you're living in a world that doesn't exist and complaining about your manufactured existence, I encourage you to stop it. And return to love. Because if everything is spirit, then what is spirit but love? Every saint, every mystic that ever has been has all gone back to this same idea that whatever the divine is love. There's a passage in the Upanishads that, and this is 12,000 years before Jesus, that said, you do not love your husband because he is dear. He is dear because you love the one. You do not love your wife because she is dear. She is dear because you love the one. You do not love the world because the world is dear. The world is dear because you love the one. You do not love creatures because creatures are dear. Creatures are dear because you love the one. And I would go so far as to say that you love as the one. Pull out your programs if you've got them. We have gone through our own evolution. I'll grant you that. This is not a quick jump. I've been in this teaching 35 years, and our slogan is becoming ever more aware of our oneness as spirit. It was not always languaged that way. We started off with becoming ever more aware of our oneness with spirit. No, that didn't work. And then we changed it to becoming ever more aware of our oneness in spirit. No, that's not quite it either. Becoming ever more aware of our oneness of spirit. We're getting really close to becoming ever more aware of our oneness as spirit. We are as spirit. And there's a big difference. It's like the difference between having faith in God and the faith of God. You're welcome. Whoever said thank you. Big difference. Big difference. And so this jump that I'm asking you to make with me is subtle but so important. Because if we don't love someone because of them, but because we love, period. And so someone shows up in our lives and we are so full of love that it just pours over them. And all of a sudden we have met our true love. We have simply met the reflection of true love and put it on somebody. And isn't John lucky? Because I put it on him. And I am equally lucky because he put it on me. But it is not my love that I give to John. It is love. I love. And so when you're around me, I love. And if spirit is all that there is, and there is nothing unlike spirit, because in a unity, let me just give you a little quick math, in quantum physics, in a unified field, in a unity, if you have something other than that unity, you don't have a unity. You have a duality. You go from oneness to two-ness. If there's anything outside of spirit, there's two-ness. Which they say, if that were the case, time and space would not hold together and we wouldn't be here. So since we're here, we are the demonstration of the presence of spirit. That's why it is, I know that God is in this place because we are here. We are the proof of the oneness of all life. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So if there is nothing other than spirit, and spirit is love, then there is only love. And if we can go back into that awareness that there is only love, Annie Ritz says that is what heals. That is what heals. It heals yourself, and it heals those around you. This book is fascinating. It talks about treatment. The whole second half of the book, I encourage you to come to Tuesday class. If not, watch it online. The second half of the book talks about treatment very much in the same way that Ernest Holmes presented treatment, only a little different. And I think maybe she was a student of Mary Baker Eddy, and Christian Science does all that treatment, but they really refuse to deal with the relative in that frame of mind. And so what Annie Ritz is doing is saying that if there is only love, love will heal not only you, but it will heal those around you. If you are so clear about who you are, that you are a spiritual being, and being a spiritual being means that you are a being of love, then that heals. Because anything that is unlike spirit must flee from the light of truth. Anything that is any reminiscent of problems, failure, misery, sickness. She calls it, because it's a really old-timey book, she calls it in the old archer's term that means miss the mark. She calls it sin. I want you to know that my issues with Christianity have really taken a wonderful jump in growth and healing through this book. Because she calls the awareness of the Christ the awareness of the God as us. Not in us, not with us, not next to us, but as us. And she says that it is our job to experience the wholeness and fullness of life, and the only way we can do that is to know that we are spiritual beings, period, end of story, and there is nothing but spirit. We are beings of love, period, end of story, and there is nothing but love. And she said if you love someone, they will heal. She said someone can come to you with a diagnosis, or her languaging is fascinating, ill temper, or just a bad life, they're just a bad person, and they come to you and you love them. You see them as God would see them. You see the God in them, because there's only God, there's only love, that is what you are, and so you've got to see that in them. If you see that in them, they will change. They will come up to that energy and that awareness that you hold for them. That if we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law and God is all that there is, then that level of spirituality, of perfection, of wholeness, of prosperity, of joy, of love, of peace is all that there is. And if we are seeing anything as less than that, we are misinterpreting and misunderstanding who we are and what's going on. And the result of that are the conditions and problems of our lives. Now, she would say that differently in very biblical terms, and it freaks me out sometimes because she says things like the wages of sin are death. And what she says is if you miss the mark here, you're going to experience not life. Your life will not grow. It will shrink because you're missing the mark because you're seeing something other than God. It is your job to see God in every person, in every experience, in every moment, and you start off with yourself. It is your job to love as God would love in every person, every experience, and start off with yourself. You know, that old thing about what would Jesus do? It's like, what would love do? Well, I've got a problem. What would love do? I don't have enough in my bank account. Well, that's because you're not loving your money. It's because you're not loving yourself. People don't like me. Well, maybe that's because you're a nasty, cranky person, and it starts with yourself. And then it comes out with your people around you. They don't like you. What would love do when it wakes up in the morning and sees you in the mirror? What would love do? What would love do? There is an awareness of the presence of Spirit in each and every one of us. We were born with it because we came out of it. It is our nature, our essence. And it is our job to allow ourselves to so clearly move into that greater awareness of the presence of the divine in us, around us, outside of us, that our lives transform. People want a shortcut. I know we all do. I do. You come in here and you say, Barbara, tell me how to fix my life. Your life is not broken. Damn. That is the problem, isn't it? If your life were broken, that would mean there was something outside of the perfection of spirit. Well, Barbara, teach me how to have more money. You are already more prosperous than the stars in the night sky. But I want more money. Love as the presence of the divine every moment of your life and watch how quickly you experience that richness on the outside. And so people talk about Center for Spiritual Living in Asheville. I know they do. Oh, that's the prosperity church. Oh, that's the place where you can go and really have a wonderful, exciting time. You can transform your life. Go there if you're sick. You know, you'll get better. Go there to meet great people. All of that. And why is that? Because we hold ourselves to a higher standard by saying that we are as God. We are not looking for God. We're not trying to connect with God. We're not trying to be with God. We're not even trying to attract into our experience those wonderful things, although I have done classes on that. We're taking it up a notch to say that we are pure, perfect spirit. And every time anything comes out of our mouths that is less than that, we are lying. We are lying to ourselves. We are lying to those around us. Whenever we tell anybody that they are less than pure, perfect spirit, we are lying to them. And it's okay to look at them and go, liar, liar, pants on fire. Don't lie to me. I didn't do anything to you. I'm not limited or less than in any way, shape, or form. I am pure, perfect spirit. And then we take it into metaphysics. And we realize that in dealing in this realm that says love is all there is, spirit is all that there is, things change on the outer. But I know that people get confused and they come in here and they want to deal with the outer simply by visiting the inner. Let me create more money. Give me an affirmation. I'll do it a couple of times a day and then I'll get more money. And yay, I got more money. Isn't that great? We're still on the outer. When we move into the inner and stay there, things happen. Things totally happen. I have a wonderful quote from one of my favorite guys, Judge Thomas Troward. I don't want to hear it. Who thought, oh, he's so wordy? No, he's brilliant. He says, my mind is a center of divine operation. The divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression. And this means the production of something beyond what has gone before, something entirely new, not included in past experiences, though proceeding out of it. Therefore, since the divine cannot change its inherent nature, it must operate in the same manner with me. Consequently, in my own special world, of which I am the center, it will move forward to produce new conditions, always in advance of any that have gone before. My mind is a center of divine operation, and because we cannot go backwards, everything that I am creating in my life must be a progression based on the past, but not limited to the past, growing and expanding. You want to have a great life? You want your life to get better and better every day? Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to the people around you. Take can't right out of your vocabulary. Stop telling yourself you're less than all that God is, that your options are limited and you're stuck and you have to do this. You are all that God is. Not a little part of God. You're not with God. You're not a point of God. You're not one piece of God. You are all that God is. We don't make excuses for ourselves. We don't give ourselves the out to say, well, I'm going to be mediocre because being magnificent is just too much trouble. You know you do it. You do it. And what I want to do is I want to step up. I want to live in a world created by love, because love is all that there is. I want to love every person in my life so much that that healing power of love transforms every experience. I want to be transformed by me, by my awareness of who I am, that spirit is all that there is, and I will not compromise my spiritual integrity by giving in to outer circumstances that I created. I did that. And so if I did that, I can undo it, I can do it better. And how do I do it better? I use the power. I love power. I use the power of the awareness of spirit. I use the power of love to change everything around me. Don't waste your time on flowers. I mean, by all means, if you want to get flowers, get flowers. But don't think that flowers are it. Flowers are an outer manifestation. You want to wow someone? See them as God sees them. See them as perfect, whole, and complete in every way. You want to wow someone? Take a look at yourself in the mirror. See yourself anew. Because there is a power in the awareness of spirit as love that will heal everything about you and everyone around you. And so it is.